Hi, if you like this content, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps this channel and spread the message to help others. Thank you so much. Hi, this is Bren Ritsuno. Today I wanted to talk about probably the most dangerous things we can do, which is in our life, which is the act of omission, which means like it's like we didn't do something that which we should have done, but since we haven't done it, we don't know the path that it could have taken to far better future. And in my life, I grew up in a pretty religious family, and especially my mom's side. And the thing is that what I hear every time anything happens, either good or either bad or anything, is the words that basically saying whatever you do, whatever have done, it's the will of God. So this is the best we could have done. So be grateful and just move on. And I sort of grew up in this type of environment. So whenever something really bad happened, right, like mistakes or anything, I really think deep enough because this is good in some sense, or the best in some sense, right? So you have to just accept that as just a fact of life, and then there is not much you need to change it in some sense, right? Changing like a lifestyle or the habit or strategy that you have to take. Many different improvement that I could have made, which I didn't. I didn't quite know why I had to do it. But a lot of things, what we don't know as ignorance, cost far more, right? Far more to our life than really what we did and made a mistake consciously. And yeah, of course, we make stupid mistakes quite once in a while. Even if you try to be rational and have principles and all that, because just the complexity of life. But without consciously aware of this things called the cost of omission, we seriously undermine the direction of that life that we can actually take. So yeah, for me, so I let's say I made some kind of calculation. Let's say in Japan, not a lot of people actually do the investment, right? And maybe I will talk about the investment in some other video. But I calculated that let's say if you have if let's say if my parents invested even like $100,000 30, 40 years ago, right? And without doing anything, that money just ballooned to a couple $1 million, given that I invest in the right places, like mutual funds, index fund, and things of the nature. But then, because they didn't know, and their mentality is never really to think about the cost of omission. They didn't really study or they didn't try to learn. The status quo is the best they could do. Uh, they spend that money that actually they can easily put in to better like investment that I talked about. They spend it on some stupid a car or frivolous project and so on and so forth, and it just you know, and this kind of habit is almost since you don't know quite that something's wrong or not. So basically, just keep going, right? So that's another danger, and yeah, it took me or our family probably 20, 30 years to wise up, and finally, holy cow, like, should have done this in a long time. So just let's think about this type of called like invisible losses, right? Whatever the path you might be taking, just take a moment and then imagine. It's very important to be grateful. Just being alive, you know, you got to count the blessing. Otherwise, like you can't just live your life, right? Being a victim mentality and all this nonsense. But there could have been a lot of different things that could have really done had we really knew or careful, right, or more systematic about the way we think, and then do things that even though it was so difficult, right, but it was the right way, but somehow didn't take that route. I think that the best way really to overcome the cost of emissions, think in the future when you are dead, right? About the time when you're dead, like 80 years old, 90 years old. Just imagine you being there. Of course, like small decisions, not a big deal, but let's say career change or marriage, having child, or things of that big things. Just imagine. I think Jeff Bezos said the same thing. Is just imagine when you're 80 or 90. See, put these like couple of options, and then which one, if you didn't, that moment, that a month or year or two, you would regret if you hadn't had that result. Then it's pretty clear what kind of the direction that we need to take. Now, of course, there is always in any situation you take, like the best course you get. At the end of the day, we have to have a faith in the direction that we're taking, right? After all this, like consideration and the thinking after that, I made a decision. Because if you waver it, right, and you're not putting the best amount of work, so it's not gonna quite fly. So once you decide, as long as things are moving forward, but that's the difficult part. How do you know if the things, if you have a kind of nagging feeling that I'm not sure this is actually right. This is like getting too difficult. I'm not sure this is the pie in the sky. I think this is something that needed to be really taken care of in a daily life. So it's a reflection that we have to actually do that every single day, like before you go to bed or when you get up at night. Steve Jobs was used to do this, right? So he think about the today and say, am I being very satisfied in the state that you're in right now? If you die, let's say today, tomorrow, are you gonna be okay with it because you've done everything you could have done? If the answer is really no, for like a few days, of course, like a one day might be like you might have a little struggle, but then if it continues, prolongs, let's say 3 days a week, I think the direction might not be right. Or you might have to really change the way you do approach things, because the direction might be right, but the methodology is not that great. So you're not actually going towards the right direction. So you gotta figure those out. Make sure that you figure those out, and the direction is right or wrong. And only if it's absolutely wrong, then you pivot. Otherwise, you stay in the course. It's critical. A lot of times, like it is really a matter of time, right? It's a you gotta deal with the reality, and the reality has its own pace. So even though you can create your own luck, but sometimes you have to be patient as long as you're doing your best. Also, when it comes to the cost of omission, another important thing is this. Just because you always want to get the best outcome, the reality is there is a saying, you have to win the war, not all the battles. Means it's like in this life, we just have to get a few big things right. But then when we are really concerned too much about, oh, I have to win all the time, right? First of all, this is extremely unrealistic. You put yourself into a delusional state. And if you do this win-win all the time, you get very short-sighted. And you might start cutting corners or have a wishful thinking just because you want to have the things. Even if you're playing like any sort of odds game, there's almost nothing which is like over 90% of probability that you win. So that means like once in a while you lose. I mean, if you have like let's say if you're in the Vegas, right, and I don't recommend gamble at all, but let's say if you have edge just 1% above the house, enormously. I mean, you're gonna be like millionaire, but then that 1%, 2% is huge, right? But then what I'm trying to say is, this notion of winning all the time is not a good attitude. It's like you step 3 steps, 4 steps forward, and then you expect 1 step back. Okay. If you really carefully, and then if you do it smartly, then probably things, that's the pace. But you don't want to be like 1 step forward and then 2 step back, and then you keep going back. Then doing you something wrong. But as long as you moving forward in the beginning, right? That would be the best. Now, so it's really, this cost of emission is risky and dangerous, just because what we don't see, we don't really feel, right? So, yeah, just be aware. Every decision you make has the branch. It's like a parallel universe kind of concept. Yeah, you can go many different directions, but you just picked one, but could have been better. Your really goal is to find the best course of action, and then the reflection, learning from the mistakes, learning from the failure is critical because of this elimination as much as you can of the cost of the omission. So just think about before going to bed or today or once in a while. Whenever you might be super happy right now, right? I mean, accomplish something. But imagine really when we're about to die, and see what you wanted to have. I think that's really depending on individual, and but as long as we're aware of such mistakes. Cost of the commission, on the other hand, like doing things in the mistake, that's not that big a problem because you saw it or you see it, so you can fix it. Yeah, but then let's take care of the cost of omission as much as possible, and then we can make the best course of actions, like decisions in our daily lives. Hi, thank you for watching. Please write down your idea in the comment section below to help each other. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe and hit bell button to be notified a new video. See you next time.